Hello YouTube, my name is Paul and today I want to do this video on healing from depression. Now, I had a mental breakdown that happened back in January of this year that led me to developing major depressive disorder. Now, prior to this event, I had already dealt with depression on and off for a number of years, but it had never been as bad as it was this past year. Previously, I was able to be functional, I could hold a job, I could go to school while being depressed, feeling depressed. I could focus for the most part. I just felt a lot of anhedonia, a lot of numbness. I just couldn't really feel a lot of pleasurable emotions. But after my mental breakdown, that pretty much all changed. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today and how I started to begin to heal. So back in January, I was, I was on break, winter break, and I was actually already suffering from burnout from the first semester. I started out really great and so ready to take on the world, but I really was burning the candle on both ends, and I was so burnt out at the end of that. And I remember, at the end of the semester, I was just really not acting like myself. I was short-circuited. I was snapping at people, which is just not like me at all, and I was just not acting like myself. And, I was starting to notice that, one of the first things I noticed was that I just didn't want to get up out of bed anymore. It was kind of like, it wasn't like, I'm in bed all day. It was more of like a gradual thing. I used to get up around maybe 7 a.m. and now it was more like I was getting up at 10 a.m. I mean, I would wake up earlier than that, but I would just stay in bed, and I just didn't want to get out of bed. And it wasn't being lazy. It was just, I felt nothing. I felt empty. I felt no motivation, and I did not want to get out of bed. So over break, I had this, I had something that triggered a mental breakdown. And after this happened, one of the first things that I noticed was that my ability to focus really went out the window. I mean, I was already kind of struggling at that point because the depression was kind of sitting in, but it went from okay, I can focus with some distractions and feeling, not that motivated, to when I went to go do my homework, I literally could not make it through a sentence. I could not read anything because my mind was firing off with all these thoughts that I couldn't ignore, and I just didn't have control over my brain, and I just could not focus at all. And, the only way I can describe it really, it's like I was being mentally tortured, and I felt like I was in my own hell. And I've watched a lot of other people who have done videos who've talked about, having major depressive disorder. This is how a lot of people describe it, is it feels like hell. And why does it feel like hell? Because you have no sense of peace. You have no sense of joy. In my case, I felt like I was being mentally tortured by my own thoughts. And so that's why it felt like hell. And this continued on for weeks. It continued on for months. And, at this time, I had no sense of peace. I had this terrible feeling of just death that was stuck inside my body. And really, I don't have the words to describe it. It was this actual energy that I could feel it felt terrible. The worst feeling you could ever, it's worse than you could really imagine. If you've never experienced it yourself, it's the worst feeling. It's the worst negative feeling times 1,000. It was awful. And I wanted to die because I wanted to escape the pain, the extreme pain that I was in. And it was every day from morning till I went up to night. I would wake up in pain. I would go to sleep in pain. And, this is what I dealt with for months on end, like I said. And so about 2 months into this mental breakdown, I had befriended somebody that I became really close with at the time, and they were really supportive during this time when I was going through the worst time of my life. And they were like, well, you should really consider going on medication. I could really help you to control your obsessive thoughts. And I was raised holistically, so I really had never considered going on medication prior to this, but I feel like at this point I hit rock bottom. I really had nothing else to lose. So I started going on medication, and really, I didn't really notice any difference for a while. I would say probably, I mean, within the first I would say probably 2 weeks after that, I would say there was like a very gradual, minute difference in, I felt like my thoughts maybe were slightly under control, but really it was still like completely unbearable. It really didn't really make that much of a difference. And it went on like this for like months. I really didn't start to see a difference on the medication probably not until like maybe 2 months, maybe about a month and a half to 2 months. And what I mean by a difference is my thoughts that were just out of control, and I just, I could not control them, were finally starting to slow down, and I was finally able to focus on different things, be more present, and not be bothered by my obsessive thoughts. And I did another video where I talked about existential OCD, and I kind of explained what that was like. I don't really want to get too much into this video because it's just like a whole nother topic and it's just way out there. But anyways, so my thoughts were finally starting to get under control. Now, does that mean that I was not depressed anymore? No, I was still very depressed. I still was feeling a lot of pain. I still felt very, like, I had no motivation, but I did start to notice 2 months in that my thoughts were finally starting to get under control. And I would say that was probably around like April, May-ish. I remember it was like in February, like I couldn't even talk about what was going on because, it was just, my thoughts were just, I couldn't even talk about it. It was so intense. And so that was probably the first thing that I began to notice a shift from, being in a really awful situation to, it was like a step above that. And, one of the things that I'll mention is that, during this time, not only was it that my thoughts were out of control, it was also that I couldn't feel any positive emotions. I couldn't feel any love. I couldn't feel any sense of joy. I didn't really feel any sense of peace at all. And I really struggled a lot. Well, one of the main things was the suicidality. Like when the mental breakdown first happened back in January, I was suicidal like pretty much every day. And, the thing with people who are suicidal when they're depressed, it's like, it's not that you necessarily want it to be all over. It's that you want to escape your pain, really, because you're in so much pain and that's no way to live, right? So, throughout the months, starting from January, I was suicidal almost every day. As time went on, though, the suicidal thoughts did start to become less frequent. But still, all throughout this time, I was dealing with major anhedonia, could not feel anything. I just felt like there was nothing inside me. I kind of felt like a ghost, in a way. But fast forward from my thoughts starting to finally get under control, one of the first things that I noticed that actually was starting to come back was I was starting to enjoy the taste of food again. And this is probably, I would say, like around May. I just remember eating actually like healthy food and it tasting really good in my mouth. And like one of the things that I was suffering with when the depression was really bad in the beginning was I was eating so much junk food because I was like trying to escape the pain I was in. So I would eat like sugary, like cereal, sweets, and a whole bunch of crap all day, which really, it just made me feel even worse. But I did get to a point where I was like, okay, like this needs to stop. I need to start eating healthier. And kind of shortly after that decision is when I was like, I was starting to realize that food actually tasted good again. So this was kind of like the next step into sort of, like getting myself back again was that, I can actually enjoy food. And that might not sound like a big deal to somebody who's like never been depressed. Like, what do you mean? Like, so what? We eat food every day. You need food to survive. But no, it's a really big deal to people who have been through depressive modes, because, depression is something that people deal with for months, for years, whole lifetimes. And these people, us people, we are deprived of all those things that you can enjoy, the things that people take for granted, like the taste of food. So being able to taste the taste of food is just like amazing once you realize that it comes back. And it's just like you hold on to that one thing, like, oh, I can finally taste food again. So that was like the second major thing that came back, was the taste of food. And I would say fast forward like another month or so, in June, one of the other things that I noticed that came back was my ability to focus on stuff. Now, that was pretty much like the one thing that just went out the window when I had my mental breakdown, was that I couldn't focus for shit. I couldn't focus on anything I wanted to. I couldn't do my homework. It was just, my brain was not functioning the way it was supposed to. And so I just remember this one day I was, cause I'm like big into languages, and I Chinese is my second language. And so I remember I was like reading this book, and one of the things was that, when I was in this depressive mode, my language abilities were just not working, and I kind of lost that talent. But I remember I was just reading this book in Chinese, and it was just all coming to me, and I was focused, and I was like, I want to learn more. I was just like, I was kind of in the zone. And it was just kind of this like amazing thing. And yeah, I was just so like kind of blown away that I was actually focusing on stuff. Cause like even making these videos, like when my depression was bad like a few months ago, and I tried to make these videos, like, you guys have to understand, like, even doing that was really hard, because just trying to sit down and have to talk and try to like form the thoughts, trying to like lay out how I'm going to do a video, that was like extremely hard, because I had no motivation, and I was going through so much pain even while I was making that video. You know what I mean? So just the fact that I was starting to get my focus back was really an amazing thing. And while this is going on, I'm starting to do things that I enjoy again. I'm into music. I'm starting to listen to music again. And it's like I'm getting back to my old self. Now, granted, I'm not completely healed from depression. I still deal with a lot of anhedonia. And that anhedonia, if you've never heard that term, it's basically where your feelings are numb. You pretty much don't really feel a whole lot. You can feel, but a lot of times your feelings are blunted. So, and that's not with everything. So like I said, like I can like enjoy the taste of food, but like other feelings such as like love or enjoyment or laughter. Like I haven't had an actual real laugh since last year. A lot of those positive emotions, they're just kind of numbed out. And the thing is that, but you can still feel like the negative emotions, but they're usually blunted negative emotions. So anhedonia is just like everything's kind of gray, basically. So, that is something I am still dealing with at the time. But the point that I'm trying to make isn't really that I've completely healed from depression, but it's that I'm at a much better place than I was back in January, February, March, April. Because during that time, not only was I severely depressed, I was suicidal all the time. I was in hell, basically. I was tortured by my own thoughts. I had no sense of peace. It was really just a terrible, awful time. The worst time, easily the worst time of my life. And so, the point I'm trying to make is that, when you are really depressed, when you have major depressive disorder and you're in the thick of it, you think you're never going to get out of where you are. You think you're always going to be stuck there. And that's one of the things that depression does to us, is that it tells us these lies to ourselves. And one of the ones that I hear a lot of people say is that I'm never going to make it out of this. I'm going to be stuck here forever in hell, basically. But that is a lie. Because even though, like I said, I'm not necessarily where I want to be, I'm still at a place where I never thought I would be, months ago. Months ago, I thought I would always be stuck in that place of unrest, can't focus, unmotivated, just feeling awful, in pain all the time. I didn't think that I would make it out of that place. But the truth is that I have made it out of that place to a much more tolerable and much more peaceful state than I was before. And that really is how the healing process works. And so when you're healing from depression, it's definitely not going to be an overnight thing. It's really a gradual process. And like I said, for me, I noticed it in steps, gradual steps. And, because like when you're depressed, when you're severely depressed, you just want it to be over. And that's why people get suicidal. It's not that, if we could just flip a switch and have our life be better and be happy and be able to enjoy a bunch of stuff, then of course we would do that. But that's just not the case. That's how depression is. It's a mental disorder, and you can't just escape out of it when you're in the thick of it. And so people want to escape out of the torture. It's not that they necessarily take life for granted, because, some people will say, oh, you take life for granted. Well, no. It's that you want to escape your pain. One of the things that, I remember my close friend told me at the time, every time I felt really suicidal, I would go to this one friend. It was really just one friend, because nobody else in my life at the time really understood what I was going through and could really give me the support I needed. And it was just this one friend. And I would go to her and I would say, I am so suicidal today. I can't see past this pain. I'm not going to make it out. And one of the things that she told me is that you have to be patient with yourself. You have to be patient. As hard as that sounds, you have to, because healing from depression, it's not going to come right away. It's going to be gradual. And the thing about it that I feel kind of strongly about is that you really have to believe. You have to believe that you're going to get better. And, well, if you can't believe that, okay, I understand, because I've been there. But this is where support comes in. And this is one of the other things I want to talk about today, is that, if you are suffering with major depressive disorder, you need somebody in your life to support you. You need somebody there that you can talk to, that you can vent to. When you're feeling suicidal, you need to go to that person, because, depression it's one of those things where you really cannot do this alone. You really need somebody to support you. You need somebody to be there, because, depression, it is a mental disease. It's you, and you can't see, and the thing about depression is that you can't see past it. So you need somebody there to believe for you when you can't believe yourself. You do. I know this because I've been there. And somebody who can just give you even just a little thread of hope, even if it's just a tiny little thread, just to keep you going through the day. Literally, I'm telling you, that's all that kept me going, because I swear I really wanted to end it. And it was only one person at that time that gave me that sense of hope, telling me that I am going to heal, that I am going to get better. Even if I felt like she was kind of full of it at the time, it gave me a sense of hope that somebody believed for me. So, if you are dealing with this disease, because it is a disease, you need other people. You need to find a support group. Talk to a family, relatives. And, in my case, I didn't really have any relatives that understood what I was going through. That's fine. But find somebody. There's going to be somebody out there who will care about you, who will love you, who, it doesn't matter, as depressed people, we often feel like we are a burden to other people. I know, because I've been there so many times. You feel like, oh, I don't want to bring this person down, I'm so negative, and they don't want to deal with my crap all the time. Well, guess what? You matter. You are a living, breathing human being, and you are suffering, and you need help. So you need to go to somebody and, stop feeling bad about being a burden or whatever it is, and tell somebody how you're feeling. Tell somebody that you feel suicidal. Tell somebody that you feel empty. Tell somebody that you feel like there's no meaning in life. Tell people whatever it is that you're feeling. Somebody will be, I'm telling you, somebody will be willing to listen to you. So it is important that we get the support that we need for people who have major depressive disorder, or even if you have a lesser degree of depression, it doesn't matter. You still need help. You still need support. And so, like I said, the point of this video is to let people know that it doesn't really matter how depressed or how bad you think depression is, or how far gone you are, or how stuck in hell you are. You can begin to heal. Because that's the thing about depression, is that it will tell you, this is what depression does, it's part of depression, it's part of the disease. It will tell you that you're not going to make it out of this. You can't see past the tunnel. You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what depression does. It is the mental illness speaking. It is not you speaking. So, don't listen to it, basically. Know that it is a lie. Know that it is a lie, and it can begin to heal. It doesn't matter what your brain is telling you, because I know I was there, and my brain was telling me, because I was watching all these videos about depression, I was saying, well, you know what, my depression is way worse than his. No, it doesn't really matter. You don't understand how my depression is. And that's what I kept on telling myself. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how bad your depression is. You can also begin to start to heal from this. And so I hope that this video is helpful to somebody out there, because, depression is a lot more common than you think. A lot of people deal with depression in many different ways, many different degrees. But it is a serious illness, and it should be taken seriously. And if you don't have anybody in your life that's there to support you, you need somebody there to support you. And you need to also be patient with yourself and know that you can begin to heal, but the road to that, it can be very difficult, but just know that you can begin to heal. It is a gradual process. You just have to give it time. You have to give it faith. You have to be supported by people. I would also suggest going on medication. I'm on medication, and I honestly think that it's been a combination of having faith, medication, having also the most important thing, the support of other people. That's really helped me get through this. So I hope that you guys have gotten something out of this video. I hope that this helps you, and I hope that this gives you even a thread of hope. The thread of hope that I got from my friend during those really dark times. And I hope that you know that things will get better. You just have to give it time. When it comes to depression, I believe in that phrase, which is no man is an island. It's really true. We need other people. We are social creatures. And if you're struggling, please get help. So if you've watched this far, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.